There was a morning when I picked up my old handsaw, the same one I'd used for years. And it barely scraped the wood. And I remember thinking how something that loyal deserved a second chance before I set it aside. So instead of giving up on it, I decided to bring it back to life right in the shop using a few simple steps that anyone at home can follow. First, I took the blade off the saw and set both the blade and the handle in a stainless tray so I could clean them properly. You know how years of dust, sap, and rust can slow a tool down, so this step helps loosen everything that's built up. I sprinkled a good layer of baking soda over the entire blade, making sure the teeth were covered. Then I poured vinegar over it until the surface started to fizz. That reaction helps break down the grime without damaging the metal. I let it sit for about 30 minutes. It's an easy way to lift off the rust and get the blade ready for sharpening, and it works well with tools that have been sitting in the shop for a while. Before we move on, share your city and state. It helps me make better projects for you. While the blade was soaking, I grabbed a small steel bar to make a simple tooth setting tool. I used a cutoff wheel to sharpen one end into a narrow point. On the side of the opposite end, I made a thin slit, just deep enough to catch each tooth. This little tool gives you control when you open the teeth later, and it's something you can make in a few minutes with scrap metal you already have in the shop. Next, I took a small round wooden dowel and drilled a centered hole straight through it. This gives the steel bar a solid handle, so it's easier to grip when you're working the saw teeth. It's a quick step, but it makes the tool much more comfortable to use. Now, I set the steel bar into the wooden handle. I spread a small amount of epoxy around the sharpened end of the bar and press it firmly into the hole we drilled earlier. After that, I brush a thin coat of varnish over the wood to seal it and give it a smooth feel in your hand. It dries fast and adds a nice bit of protection. By the time the finish sets, you've got a sturdy, comfortable handle that makes this simple tool easy to control every time you tune up a saw. After the soak, I pull the saw blade out and scrub it with a stiff brush. The baking soda and vinegar loosen the grime, so most of it comes off easily. Once the surface looks clean, I rinse it with water and wipe it dry so it's ready for sharpening. To get the blade ready for opening the teeth, I start by marking the rows of teeth on both sides with a simple marker. This helps you keep track of your progress as you work. Then, I sandwich the blade between two flat wooden strips, so the teeth sit just above the edges. I slide the whole setup into the vise and tighten it until the blade is held firm with no wiggle. This keeps the steel steady, so every tooth bends evenly, and you stay in full control through the whole sharpening process. With the blade clamped and the tool finished, I start opening the teeth. I line up the small side cut on the steel bar with the first tooth and give it a steady pull to bend the tooth just a little. You only want a slight set enough to give the saw room to clear material as it cuts. Then I move to the next tooth, working down the row one by one. After I reach the end, I flip the blade in the vise and repeat the same motion on the opposite side. Keeping the angle and pressure consistent is what brings the saw back to life. It's simple work, but taking your time here makes a big difference in how clean and fast the saw cuts when you're done. Once the teeth are opened evenly, I switch to the diamond sharpening blade. I run it lightly along each tooth, keeping a steady angle so the cutting edges stay uniform. You don't need heavy pressure. A few smooth passes on each tooth bring the edge back quickly. As you work your way down the blade, you can see the metal brighten and feel the teeth getting sharper. When the full row is done, the saw is ready to bite into wood again with the clean, steady cut it used to have. When the sharpening is done, I give the entire blade a light coat of WD-40. It spreads fast and keeps moisture from settling on the steel. I wipe off the excess with a clean rag so the surface feels dry but protected. This simple step helps the saw stay sharp longer and keeps rust from creeping back in. And that's all it takes to bring an old handsaw back to life. A little patience, a few simple tools, and you've got a blade that cuts like it did years ago. If you enjoyed this kind of practical fix, make sure you subscribe and stick around. I've got plenty more projects coming your way.